welcome back to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is the United Kitchens. And if you've been watching our show on a regular basis, you know we have our celebrity chef and certified nutritionist, Ricki Mckenna, who is teaching us how to eat healthy and also to enjoy the whole eating experience. Let's welcome her to the program. Hello, Chef.
Hello, Dr. JACALYN. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you? Sweating it out there in Texas.
Oh my gosh, 96 degrees? This is ridiculous, and it's only June. But welcome to Ricki's Kitchen, where the air conditioning, thank you, works. So today we're going to be preparing a few things a little differently. As a certified nutritionist for the past 20-something years, 23 at this point, I think, I've worked with lots of different people with lots of different interesting challenges. One of which is dairy challenges, not being able to eat dairy because of either digestive problems usually, and a few other things. So through all that, with other challenges, I developed some recipes that work for those people who really want to eat the same stuff, but they can't because it hurts. So we're going to make it so that it doesn't hurt. And so with that, Dr. JACALYN, I know that you have a few sensitivities to food. How do you feel about dairy-free pesto? Whoops, you're muted.
Sorry, I absolutely love that. I'm a huge pesto fan. It's one of my favorite foods on this earth. And I know it's healthy in a lot of ways, and I think it also has some fat. I'm not absolutely sure, but because of the cheese.
No, it's usually the nuts. Usually we use pine nuts. Today we're using walnuts. We're going to do a walnut pesto without Parmesan. We're going to do it with my secret ingredient. And I've got traditional pesto right here. I have some that I made last week. And you can have a little look at that. It's yummy.
I'm going to spotlight you, and then I'm going to go back and produce. Have a great show.
Thank you so much. And welcome again to Ricki's Kitchen and United Kitchens. This is traditional pesto. It is made with fresh basil, olive oil, Parmesan cheese, and pine nuts. And this time we're going to do a little different thing. We're going to do crostini. We're going to do a crostini and actually do it on naan bread, which is wonderful. And this is a whole wheat naan bread. And then we're going to also do it for those of you who like baguettes. So first thing we do, we're going to use snap peas and tomatoes. And let me just grab my tomato. I've got a wonderful Roma tomato that's in really good shape, which we'll cut up in a little while. The first thing I want to do, though, if you've ever worked with snap peas, the reason you snap them, they're inside, this little wiggly thing, it's stringy. So we're going to take all of those off of each of these, which are already washed. And we're going to do this so that nobody gets them caught in between their teeth. And also because they are difficult to chew. They're just very stringy. And so we're going to eliminate them. It only takes a couple of seconds here. And we get the snap peas to where they'll be edible and delicious. And then we're going to pop them into a pan and lightly saute them so that they will go on the crostini a little bit warm. And you can serve it either warm or room temperature or cold if you so desire. And I've got about a cup of these, which I am now peeling. And so I want you to understand that the preparation time is important. That one doesn't work. And we're going to get, this is a very quick and easy recipe once you get these things peeled. So we're going to do that. And then chop them up into little pieces, mostly halves and thirds, because they'll work beautifully on crostini. Or if you want to use something like focaccia bread, or something that's even a little bit thinner, but I like the consistency of the naan bread. Okay, so we've got just about a cup here. We're going to toss the stringies because we don't need to eat those. Okay, and then I'm going to take my nice little sharp paring knife and cut them into thirds and halves, depending on the size of the snap peas. And I have my olive oil. You can use olive oil or you can use avocado. I like the olive oil, especially when you're doing something that's a pesto, because it's in the Italian flavors. And it's also a good oil for cooking because we're not going to heat it. We're not frying these. We're just simply warm sauteing them. And so that they will be easy to bite and they won't fall off the bread when someone eats them. So I'm going to take my olive oil and turn my pan on to high. And depending on your range, I'm just going to put in about just a little bit, close to a tablespoon of oil. And I'm going to take the peas now and I'm going to put them in there now as it warms. And you'll hear them probably, you can hear them a little later start to sizzle, which is when we actually turn them off. So that they don't get overcooked, but they do get warmed through enough to work on the crostini. And here we have a little part of the lovely little peas that are inside. So we'll toss those. Now, I'm going to chop up my tomato and cut that into smaller diced pieces because the tomato has to work with the lovely green of the snap peas. And if you like, you can seed them. I don't bother. I remember as a kid, we used to think that if you ate seeds, you were going to have a tomato tree in your stomach. It doesn't work that way. But, you know, how as kids, you find out about these things and you make up silly stories about it. So anyway, we're going to just chop those up roughly, but small enough, again, to be bite-sized pieces and stay on the crostini. And there we go. So we have our tomato ready. And we will start sizzling shortly, but in the meantime, we're going to start making the pesto. And the first thing that I'm going to put in, I have my little baby Cuisinart, because we're not making tons of it, but we're going to make enough to go on both of these breads to spread out. So I'm going to take my arugula first and put in a small, about half a handful. And I'm going to take my basil, which I just grabbed out of the garden. And by the way, it's the most divine thing to smell the fresh basil, but it's also very good aromatherapy for your tummy, as well as just making you feel good and appreciating God's bounty. So we're going to take that. And just a minute, I hear the sizzle. I'm going to give it a little, just want you to see that. We'll go over there for a second. See how we do this. And you can see how they're beginning. You can see the oil starting to bubble, just slightly. So I'm going to leave it for just a minute and take that one out because it isn't pretty. Okay, we're going to let that go for a second. And I'm going to process the basil and the arugula. Just roughly. I'm going to close it through. And we're going to turn the snap peas off and let them just sit in there and basically warm. Okay. So, you can see that the basil and the arugula have processed a wee bit. So now we're going to add, I happen to love garlic. We all do. So I'm going to add a couple, 3 cloves of garlic, and I'm just going to chop the ends off of the peeled ones and cut them in thirds so they break up a little bit easier. And put them in the food processor. And if you have a large food processor, that's fine. I happen to be blessed with a small one as well. So we're going to use this one today. And put the garlic in, and I'm going to start adding a little bit of olive oil, just kind of one circle around there to make our pesto. Here we go. And always have a little spatula handy so that you can push everything down to where the blade reaches. When you're doing a pesto or something like this that needs, it comes up the side wood of the food processor. So we've got that going. And then I'm going to add a little bit of our walnuts, about a handful. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit more, but I'm doing it a little bit at a time because it is a little processor. The dance of the walnuts going here. They're turning out nice and juicy so far, which is going to be great for spreading. Now, if it gets a little too juicy, you can always add some more walnuts and some more basil. And let me just check on the snap peas. Oh, yeah. I'm going to take them off the burner, because that burner tends to retain heat. So I've moved them through. I don't want them to really cook because I want them crispy. I'm going to add some more walnuts to our pesto. And now if you're saying, okay, what does she do for the cheese? Give me a minute. We're going to tamp that down, and in place of Parmesan cheese, since this is a vegan pesto, we are going to use one of my favorite veggies that contains protein and good fats as well, and it's called an avocado. So I'm going to take about a tablespoon in this measure of things of the avocado and put that in a couple of spots. We're going to just kind of circulate it around so it does cut up and mixes well. And this one is fairly ripe. And you can even, if your avocado is a little bit on the firm side, that's almost better. But this is beautiful because it helps create a wonderfully creamy consistency for the pesto. And then, excuse me, we're going to add one other final ingredient. We'll just open I'm going to make sure that my walnuts are all chopped up. We've got a few more seconds to do here so we can make sure all the pesto gets evenly distributed. All the ingredients get evenly distributed. I'm going to add just a little sliver of lemon juice, a little fresh sliver, just maybe a teaspoon or less of lemon. And actually, I'm going to use my kosher salt. I like my chunky salt, even in something like pesto. And I have this lovely little spoon that does we'll do about a quarter of a teaspoon of kosher salt. And I'm going to make sure everything is tamped down to where the blades can reach it. And then add some fresh pepper. You can always add some more pepper and salt once you've got it on the breads, once you've spread it out. But I'm just going to put a little in here so it all gets mixed up pretty well. Sorry for this nasty noise, but it's a good noise because it's making the pesto. You do have to do a little bit more to get the nuts. The pine nuts are usually easier to chop but the walnuts also give this a wonderful flavor. So it's an alternative, and walnuts are very high in good fats, good oils, and vitamins, even more so than the pine nuts. Not bad. We're going to give it a little taste shortly. Okay, I think we'll just do it by hand at this point. We still have a couple of pieces of the walnuts that need a little more chopping. And let's see, let's take a taste. That really is yummy. It's a little bit different from the using the Parmesan cheese. But again, the other spices that are in there, the garlic and the salt and pepper and the lemon juice really pick up the flavor. So I'm going to give it one more whirl, and then we're going to spread it on the breads. Show you how we put the crostini together. Here we go. I think you got it this time. There's one big chunk of walnut that I can see, and somebody's going to have to eat that. Okay. Let's get this out of our way. And I have probably 3/4 of a cup of the pesto, which I will now take and take our wonderful bread, the naan bread, and I'm going to mix it up a little bit in here. Oh yeah, consistency is great. It's thick, but still very spreadable. So I'm going to start spreading it out. Actually, I'm going to use this knife. If you have a spatula or a butter spreader that has one serrated edge, this one does. So it's straight on one side, and it has the serrated edge. And I'll show you why shortly. And you want to spread it out, not too thickly. We do have a couple of walnuts there, leaving about 1 inch around the edge. Let's see. There we go. So we've got our pesto spread out fairly thinly. We can see it. And then what we do is take our warmed up snap peas. I'm going to use a fork this time and spread those out fairly evenly. And try not to get any of the, or much of the oil, if there's any left in the pan, onto the bread, because there's plenty in the pesto as well as what comes out with the snap peas. And then I'm going to take my tomatoes. It's getting so pretty. Okay. And basically, there you have it. There's your crostini with the tomatoes, the snap peas, and the pesto. And if you notice, it's really quick. I'm going to take another piece of lemon, just a skinny little slice, and give it a slight sprinkle. And then to make it really sizzle, we're going to take a little bit more pepper just before serving. And now here comes the point of this, or I should say the serrated edge of this. Because when you want to go serve it, you can cut it very easily without messing up what you've got in the plate. As you can see, we've got a whole plate full of vegetables on top of the crostini. So what I'm going to do first of all is slice it in half. And you slice it easily by pressing down, not pulling across, because that will knock everything off the bread. So you're pressing down almost like you do a pizza. You could use a pizza cutter if you wanted to, but I really prefer this because I think it does a much better job. It's gentle. I'm going to do it in quarters, and then you can have it like as an appetizer, or this makes an absolutely wonderful light meal. You can combine it with a little bit of maybe some cold soup if it's hot as blazes outside, or you could do a warm soup. And I'm also going to cut it again so that we have a little bit easier to handle pieces if you're serving it, which I will be serving this evening as an appetizer. So we've got our naan bread, which is filled with the snap peas and the tomatoes, chopped tomatoes. And there you have it. It's so pretty. And of course, if you're serving it on a plate like this, you can take either your arugula or your basil and do a little decorative work. Make it pretty. Okay, I think this is the Thai basil. And of course, this is a more traditional basil. We'll just put one of those lovely leaves there. And there you have it. Ready to munch. And didn't take us more than 20 minutes. So if you're concerned about getting everything ready for a party, you have people coming over, this is an easy recipe to do, and it works quickly. So now that we've got it on the naan bread, I'm going to take, for those who want a little more hearty type sandwich, we're going to take our baguette. I've already cut it in half, and I'm going to slice it open. Again, this time the long way. And if you so choose, which I like to do, if I'm going to use a filling in something like a baguette, I want to take a little bit of the bread, the filling, out of the inside and just leave that wonderful crust. You could toast it, which we could do. And if you're kind of like I am, where nothing goes to waste in the kitchen, you can take all of this wonderful bread that's coming out from the inside, put it in the pan once you get the rest of the snap peas out, and toast it up, and you can have some croutons. So we've got one side. I'm going to do the bottom as well. Just take a little layer out so that you've got a little shallow boat, in effect, in your baguette. And I don't know if anybody noticed, but earlier today I was watching one of Dr. JACALYN's other programs, and two of the women who were on there had on crowns. So I decided that I can wear my tiara. So here I am preparing a princess meal for my company this evening, and actually for lunch for us today. And I'm going to use the rest of my pesto on here in the boat that we just created in the baguette. So it goes beautifully in there, so it will hold the snap peas and the tomatoes nicely. There we go. And just spread it around carefully. And what we'll do in a moment, I've got a little teeny weeny bit of pesto left here. So I'll just put a little bit more on here. And since I happen to love pesto, same as Dr. JACALYN, I just might eat that with a spoon. So we take our slightly toasted snap peas and divide them between the two halves of the baguette. Kind of press them down a little bit so they stick to the pesto, in effect. There we go. And let's see what we have here. And this will be quite a hearty sandwich. If you wanted to at this point, you could even add something that I will do shortly. Instead of keeping it as a vegan dish, which it is now, with just the vegan pesto and the snap peas and the tomato, we can add some goat cheese. And even if you just add it right out of the refrigerator as a topping, it makes a delicious addition to it. But again, if you're keeping it vegan, then choose a cheese that is either vegan. It's not a, it's made from something other than a dairy product, or just eat it just as it is. It's going to be darn good. I'm going to take a little pepper like I did on the other. And if you'll give me 2 seconds. Since this is intuitive cooking, sometimes things come out as I'm making something, I kind of come up with something else that might work. So actually that's part of what I did with these. Yesterday when we had, someone said, well, where's the Parmesan cheese? And I said, nope, it's going to be avocado this time. So now we're going to take our goat cheese and transform it from vegan into omnivore, or let's see, just a wee bit of the dairy products. I'm going to use my serrated knife to open this one. And feed the floor. Okay, so I'm going to take a little slice, maybe 1/4 inch slice of the goat cheese, and then just sprinkle. And if it doesn't follow, you can also buy goat cheese that's already crumbled, or you could use feta cheese, whatever you decide. But the avocado in here, in the pesto, rather than the Parmesan cheese, gives you a little bit more nutrition, as I said, and just a little bit different consistency, which is really actually lovely. I think I'll put some on the other one as well. And it makes it really pretty. It's kind of like the Italian flag and the Mexican flag with the goat cheese on top. There you go. I'll just put that. Actually, and if you wanted to serve it, you have your guests who won't eat dairy, you can just put the cheese on one side and let them have the other side for themselves. So there we go. Gets a little messy. Excuse me. All righty. Dr. JACALYN, are you there? Are you hungry yet?
I am here. No, it looks delicious though.
Yeah. How many people do you know of who have the dairy, either allergy or sensitivity to dairy? Or maybe they don't even know they do.
I know many people who have pains in their stomach or in their digestive tract somewhere after they eat certain food and they haven't figured out what it is yet.
Yep. Well, my suggestion as a nutritionist is to take that, take dairy out of their diet. One thing at a time should come out. For example, dairy, take it out for a week. Stop eating anything with cheese unless it's a non-dairy cheese. And of course, milk products, unless you're using something like almond or coconut milk, they can be substituted. And hazelnut milk, Sherry's hazelnut milk is fabulous. And then after a week, see what happens digestively. If they're digesting and they're having no problems, then it could be the dairy products. So be aware of that. Even something that's fermented like yogurt, like a Greek yogurt, plain yogurt, sometimes that can be used because it is fermented, so it digests a little bit differently. But if they want to stay away from dairy for 1 week and see what happens. So that's a suggestion in the nutrition department.
That's a really good suggestion.
Well, yeah, it does happen. because people don't quite understand. If you can't quite figure out, what it is, let's see if we can get back here. Let me see if I can. Hello. There we go. And as my banner says, food is more than what we eat. And my book, which is on Amazon, is Yes, You Can Eat Well and Eat Right. And the thing about it is something like this, where the pesto is not made with a dairy product, it's made free of it, can be eaten by almost anyone without any digestive problems. I don't know, I've known of one or two people who are allergic to olive oil. So in that case, I would either substitute something like avocado oil or even a non-flavory coconut oil, because the olive oil, of course, is wonderful with pesto, as you know, but you can also do it with avocado oil, and the avocado in it, the creamy texture is absolutely fabulous. So my book covers a lot of these things as far as sensitivities to food. For example, something like strawberries. Fresh strawberries are one of the most nutritious, wonderful things to eat in the berry family because they're antioxidant. The anthocyanins in the colors, like the tomatoes are red and the snap peas are green, those are the things that help your body function properly. So my book addresses a bunch of those along with recipes, but there is a caution because there are people who are allergic to strawberries. And it could be the color factor in the strawberries, which is a natural thing. However, there are white strawberries, and there are times when people who have problems with the red ones may be able to eat the white ones. So you can substitute different things and really still eat well and eat right for your body. That's the whole point of my book. And it has, I think there's about 32 recipes in there, including one for hair care that uses food. So that's fun. It is on Amazon. And how are we fixed today?
We're good. We're good. You can give your contact information. I have the banner here, but we have 2 new radio channels as of yesterday. So we have new people joining us all the time. How can people reach you?
Well, congratulations, Dr. Jacqueline. That's fabulous. They can reach me either at rickiskitchen.net, and that's Ricki, RICKIS, kitchen, no apostrophes. Can't do that in an email anyway. So it's Ricki at rickiskitchen.net, or you can reach me at by text or by phone. If you're calling, I would prefer a text because then I can tell if it's a real phone call, and you can text either kitchen at the beginning of your text or Ricki's Kitchen or Kitch, something like that, to let me know. It's 970-618-7607. And it's in the US, so it's 1+. And that's really about it. And Amazon will have the book under Yes, You Can Eat Well and Eat Right and Find the Joy of Cooking. So,
all right, Ricki, thank you so much for being here and whipping up another great dish.
And if you wear your tiara, you can just go anywhere and be very elegant as you cook.
I'm going to be getting mine, believe me.
Okay. From Madeline or from Diane?
No, I'm going to get my own.
Oh, okay. Oh,
but you have a beautiful dinner tonight, and please tell our team members I said hello.
I will do that. And I think we'll have to take a little video, as you said, and just see how the team works together. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and have a blessed weekend, everybody. Hearty appetite.
Thank you. Bye, Ricki. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everyone, for watching, for listening. Today is 5 months since we launched USA Global TV. And at that time, we didn't have the radio and we didn't have the registration mark. So we now have 26 shows. I announced earlier today we'll be starting 3 new shows, actually 4 new shows. And so I'm looking for some co-hosts if you're interested. Our new shows include The Power of Technology, Animal Kingdom, and it's all about the kiddos and their parents. And our 4th show is a game show, and it's called Who's Listening? And I'll just share a little bit of information. I'm going to pull up the graphic for the show. Here it is. It's called Who's Listening? And this is for people who have been certified by me as elevated listeners. So it's a listening program, and it's actually open to anyone and everyone. The course is The Power of Listening. You take the course, it's 2.5 hours. You take it at your leisure as opposed to taking it live. It's $257. When you complete the course, you'll get a 7-question quiz. And when you score 100%, you are certified as an elevated listener. Your certificate will be posted on social media. Along with your headshot, your certificate will also be on drjacalyn.com as an elevated listener. And your headshot will appear on USA Global TV as an elevated listener on our team. When you have accomplished that and you join our elevated listening community, which is $11 a month, you actually in this community will receive a guided meditation. You will receive fitness tips, listening tips, and some key educational learnings from the week. So you become an elevated listener. You show the world that you are interested in listening without judging, without coming up with solutions, without interrupting, and without stage hogging. And then you get to be on our game show. The game show is 15 weeks long. It starts in July. There will be 3 teams of people, obviously all elevated listeners, and they will compete against each other to see how well they're actually listening. So what will happen is each week, someone or 2 or 3 people will be disqualified because they weren't listening, and everyone else will move forward to the next week. When we come to the end, we should have 3 people who've made it there to the final round, and they will have an opportunity to select one of 5 prizes. One prize is something that I'm offering, and it is a license to be one of our expert presenters on Talking Heads. The current retail value of that today is $6,000. So you would get to be having your own show for 30 minutes for 6 months. So that's one of the prizes. So again, if you're interested, it's so easy and you will be shocked. Many times we have an ego about how well we're listening. And then we take the course and realize, no, we're not a 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. We're probably 3 or 4 because we're judging people as they speak. We're providing solutions for people when they didn't ask us. And then we're stealing the show. They're telling us about something important to them, and then we make it about us. Oh, you went out to a nice restaurant? I remember when I was at a restaurant and this happened to me, and now the person never got to finish what it was they were talking about. It's all about setting boundaries as an elevated listener. We can't listen at the highest level all the time either because it's not possible. We have to set boundaries. When can we be completely available, not thinking about anything else, not looking at anything else, just being present and providing a safe space for others. If that sounds like it's of interest to you, please go over to my website, drjacalyn.com, and you will find the Power of Listening foundational courses 1 and 2 combined into one, and that is in the shop, SHOP. If you've taken part 1 already, you can take 1 and 2 together. Again, it's 2.5 hours. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. We will be back shortly with the Listening Mentor Show and my special guest, Caroline Heward. And we also have a guest today as well. So do stay where you are because we're coming right back. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chef. Bye.